Hong Kong, Kowloon, Public Security Bureau. Chen Bing, with his big belly, pointed at the dozen or so policemen in green uniforms below with his greasy hands, and said, "You rubbish. Fang Mu, let this guy be arrogant for a while, and when I sit in the inspector's seat, I will clean him up first." Lei Luo watched Chen Bing spraying manure on it, whispering to Mu with an unhappy expression. "What's Fang Mu, stupid?" Lai Luo saw that Fang Mu did not speak, and pushed Fang Mu Dao with his elbow. Fang Mu returned to his senses and smiled and said, "Why wait until later, you can teach him now." Lei Luo looked dumbfounded, and didn't understand what Fang Mu meant. Fang Mu walked directly up, and under the eyes of everyone, he directly punched Chen Bing in the stomach. This Chen Bing looks sturdy, but in fact he is a paper tiger. His body has already been hollowed out by the color of alcohol, and he is not able to withstand a single blow. Was punched on the stomach by Fang Mu, his face was flushed with blue veins, and he slumped on the ground holding his stomach. The people below saw that Fang Mu had hit Chen Bing, and their faces were shocked. They didn't expect that honest people, who are always peaceful in the police station, would have such a fierce side. Fang Mu wanted to beat Chen Bing a long time ago, because some trivial things offended him, so Chen Bing put on him shoes everywhere. Of course, he wasn't the only one who was wearing small shoes, most of the people in the bureau had. Chen Bing took a long time to come over, pointed Fang Mu with his finger, and reluctantly said, "You, he who dare to beat me? You don't want to do it, right?" "Yes, I just don't want to do it." Fang Mu took off his police uniform and threw it heavily on the ground. In this era, the police is already a very good profession, and there is oil and water to fish. If you don't do this, there is a high probability that you can only be a thug or coolie. Come on, catch him, and sue him for assaulting the police. Chen Bing Chong shouted angrily from the people around him. No one from the police station did it. They saw it early, and it was not pleasing to the eye. They relied on their brother-in-law to be Yan Tong. Is rampant in the police station. I don't know how many people have been offended. Of course, no one will help him. Chen Bing was even more angry when no one listened to him. None of these people can get away. When he and his brother-in-law file a lawsuit, these people are all up. Especially this Fang Mu, dare to beat himself and lose face. Kill him. Yes, kill him. Anyway, his brother-in-law is Yan Tong. If he kills him, it's no big deal. At most, he will be a gangster. Chen Bing wants more and more angry. He took a sigh of relief, took out his pistol and pointed at Fang Mu, glaringly open and said, "You're a ma, I think you don't want to live anymore." Fang Mu watched him pull out the pistol, without fear, looked at Chen Bing fiercely, and said lightly, "I bet you don't have bullets in your gun." Fang Mu's fierce eyes that Chen Bing looked at trembled with fright. He pulled the trigger abruptly, but the gun did not go off. Fang Mu took the gun from Chen Bing's hand and pointed at his head and said, "Don't you know that you need to open the insurance before shooting?" Before Chen Bing came here, he was just a gangster, and he hadn't touched a gun. After came here, relying on his brother-in-law, who is Yan Tong, he made a fortune and became obsessed with wine. If you are in danger, just call someone else up. Where will you take care of these things? His gun is just a decoration, and he uses it out to scare people from time to time. Do you think I can shoot? Fang Mu said lightly. Chen Bing trembled all over, and almost came out of scared urine, for fear that Fang Mu would shoot him. Fang Mu, you can't kill me, my brother-in-law is Yan Tong, you can't run away if you kill me. Fang Mu patted Chen Bing's fatty face with a gun and said, "Of course I won't kill you. I'm not that stupid yet. I will pay for my life for a trash." Chen Bing breathed a sigh of relief when Fang Mu said not to kill him. Although this Chen Bing is a wine bag and rice bag, his brother-in-law is also one of the 4 chief inspectors Yan Tong. The entire Xiangjiang Chinese can only count as the chief inspector, and Yan Tong's power is not small. If kills him, Yan Tong is afraid that he will never die. Of course, his life is second, mainly because Yan Tong's face has been lost. Fang Mu threw the gun aside, and turned around to leave. Fang Mu, you wait for me, you are dead, I must tell my brother-in-law to kill you. Chen Bing clutched his stomach and stood up. His expression of begging for mercy changed and shouted at Fang Mu. Fang Mu shrugged and said that it didn't matter, and turned his back to him, and gave him a middle finger. Since I did it, I won't be afraid. Besides, he left here after a while, whether he can be found or not, it's better to talk about it. When they found themselves, Fang Mu was not afraid. Lai Luo came over and patted Fang Mu on the shoulder, gave a thumbs up, and exclaimed, "You are really relieved by this. But can you go there without being a policeman?" Listening to Lai Luo's caring words, Fang Mu's heart warmed. He has been in this world for a few years, and his only friend is Lai Luo. "Don't worry, I have a place for me. It's you, usually we have a good relationship. Now that I hit him, you will definitely be troubled by him." Fang Mu patted Lai Luo on the shoulder. "I'm fine, I have Uncle Chen covered." Fang Mu nodded, and said no more. He also knew that Lai Luo would become one of the 4 chief inspectors in the future. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com is even more known as 500 million inspectors. Fang Mu waved his hand and said, "Go away." Lai Luo stared at Fang Mu's leaving back, feeling a little bit unwilling. In fact, Fang Mu is the only friend he can really make for all these years, and he is gone now. Although there is still some worry in his heart, Lai Luo knows that Fang Mu always considers everything before doing things. He naturally has his reason to do so. Yes, Fang Mu was not originally from this era, he was originally a college student from Blue Star, China. He slept at home, and then he didn't know how, he crossed to another world, a parallel universe, almost exactly the same as his previous planet, but he crossed again before his was hot. Up to now, Fang Mu has traveled to this world for 3 years, and he became good friends with Lai Luo when he was in the police academy. "I have been here for a few years as a policeman without power and power." He still wears a hat. He doesn't even have a gun for his usual tasks. Originally, he thought it was just an ordinary trip to Xiangzhong in the 1950s. However, the sound that rang in his mind just now made him realize that his crossing is not a simple crossing. Fang Mu smoked a cigarette and packed his things. He was going to find Ye Wen. 2%, 38%, 66%, 99%, 100% Zhou Tian card system binding successfully host, Fang Mu level, not getting started skills, none storage space, 1 cubic meter current world, Ip Man check-in location, Ip Man martial arts hall good. This is not a rebirth flow, but an infinite flow. Fang Mu's reliance is also here. There is a system that is afraid of a hair. After this system actually sent him to this world, it took a few years to open it. If Fang Mu had known that this was Ye Wen's world, he would have come to apprentice a teacher long ago. Ye Wen has the protagonist's aura, he is a good person, and the surroundings have always been well received. According to the description sent by the system, as long as you complete the sign-in tasks in each world, you can get corresponding rewards. I don't know exactly what Fang Mu is, but since it was given by the system, it wouldn't be too bad to think about. Fang Mu threw the things into the necessary storage space for the traverser, and then came to Ye Wen's boxing gym. "Master Ye, this is my nephew Fang Mu. He is 22 years old this year and has always wanted to learn Kung Fu. I hope you can accept him as an apprentice." A man wearing a brown robe, over 100 years old, said to Ye Wen. Ye Wen wondered, "Treasurer Fang, why haven't you heard that you have a nephew before?" "That's it. My nephew has studied abroad since he was a child, and only came back these few days. No, I heard that he wants to learn Kung Fu, so I immediately thought of Master Ye. After all, you are the person with the highest Kung Fu here. The shopkeeper Fang patted a flattering. This shopkeeper deserves to be the shopkeeper, and he doesn't even blink his glasses when he tells a lie. Fang Mu was originally not from this world, let alone his relatives, so the shopkeeper could not be Fang Mu's uncle naturally. Because Fang Mu knew that Ye Wen had a rule for accepting apprentices, that is, there is no tile to cover his head, and no dragon and lion dances are taught. That is to say, people with unknown origins and people who fight frequently will not be accepted. Fang Mu has no real identity in this world. Before he entered the police academy, it was entirely because he bribed the police academy's admissions officers. So Fang Mu repeated the old tricks and found such an uncle, and it cost him more than 200 yuan. When Fang Mu paid more than 100 yuan at the beginning, the shopkeeper didn't agree. Righteously said that Ye Wen was his best friend, relative, and Fang Mu directly added it to 250, and then agreed with one bite. You know, when he was a police officer, his monthly salary was only more than 100 yuan, and just this one took him 2 months' salary. I have to say, there is really no treacherousness and no business. These things the shopkeeper Fang said, even though Fang Mu told him to say so. However, it is not all fake, he is indeed 22 years old this year. And when he was at Blue Star, he had indeed been an exchange student abroad, so he had stayed in school, right? Ye Wen arched his hands and nodded. Where, the shopkeeper Fang is so admirable, since your nephew has stayed abroad, why should you come here to learn boxing? Fang Mu did not wait for Fang's shopkeeper to speak bluntly. Huaqiuaju is extensive and profound, and I hope to carry forward Zsquashu. Fang Mu knew that Ye Wen was still quite in favor of promoting the Z national martial arts, so Fang Mu's answer would definitely not be wrong. Otherwise, Bruce Lee would not let Wing Chun hand over to foreigners in Ip Man 4. Sure enough, Ye Wen heard Fang Mu's words like this and his face was relieved, and he immediately helped Fang Mu up and said, Okay, it's rare for anyone to have such a ambition, I will accept you as a disciple. Originally, Ye Wen didn't want to accept Fang Mu as a disciple. He was afraid that he would miss Fang Mu. This was not a martial arts world practice. One martial arts can be learned in 3 or 2 years. Learning Kung Fu requires years of training. And I still need to practice from a young age. Generally, bones over the age of 16 have been shaped long ago. It is very difficult for Fang Mu to learn in his 20s. However, when Ye Wen saw that Fang Mu had such a lofty ideal, it coincided with his ideal, and immediately agreed to the recipient and Mu as a disciple. Ye Wen once had similar ideals when he was young, but he was too weak to practice at that time. And most of his apprentices were born from flathead people, and some didn't even know a few words. Are mostly for the sake of mixing food, let alone promoting martial arts. Now there is someone who is close to his ideals, even if he agrees, let alone this person has returned from overseas. Fang Mu sees Ye Qna and should immediately kneel down to apprehend the teacher. Thank you, master, accept me. That's good, I still believe in your master Yi's character, my nephew will leave it to you. The shopkeeper Fang gave Fang Mu a look when he left, indicating that he could still find him if he had such a good job in the future. Ali, take Fang Mu to pay the apprenticeship fee, and then take him to meet fellow seniors. Ye Wen shouted to a thin young man. Good master. The man walked up to Fang Mu and said, Junior brother Fang, my name is Su Li. You can also call me Ali. We will be the same in the future. If you have anything to tell me in the future, I'm talking about physical activity. I can't do it, I'm a big boss. Su Li scratched his head and smiled. From a person's words, you can tell what kind of person this person is. This Su Li didn't regard himself as a big brother in front of Fang Mu. Fang Mu's first impression of this big brother is still very good. We pay the tutoring fee once a year. Su Li walked and explained some points for attention in the martial arts gym with Fang Mu. Fang Mu's savings over the past few years is scarce after he pays the tuition fees. Reading www. you can shu. But Fang Mu doesn't care about this anymore, because when Ye Q&A should accept him as a disciple, the system sign-in has already been completed. My own road of martial arts can be regarded as the first step. IP Man Martial Arts Gym, checked in successfully. Task reward, God level martial arts talent injecting talents, 1%, 2%, 100%, injection completed. Following the system's prompt sound, Fang Mu suddenly felt that his whole person had changed. Although he can't tell from the outside, his body has undergone earth-shaking changes. The whole person has become more clear and bright, and the world has become clearer in his eyes, just like going through the Yujing. He felt that he had become smarter, or in other words, his savvy. Some things he couldn't figure out before suddenly became clear. Furthermore, it seems that all the veins in his body are also connected, and he feels unstoppable strength. Fang Mu has never felt so well before. The things the system gave were really extraordinary. Fang Mu was like a primary school student who had just gotten a textbook. He couldn't wait to try his god-level martial arts talent. Unfortunately, Ye Wen won't be able to teach him until tomorrow. Fang Mu looked at this familiar and unfamiliar world, even though he had been in this world for several years. However, Fang Mu always feels that there is a gap between himself and this world, perhaps because he is not a person in this world. Didn't know if he knew whether he could return to the original world, and the system didn't give any hints. I don't know how long to stay in this world, years or even decades. Fang Mu shook his head, continuing to think about this will only increase his troubles, so let's take one step at a time. Since we are here, we must do our best and discipline ourselves strictly. The so-called attitude determines the height. So, Fang Mushin just came to Ye Wen's martial arts gym the next day. However, he was not the first to come to the rooftop, because Ye Wen had already practiced boxing with wooden piles here. It seemed that he had been here for a long time. Fang Mu knew that Ye Wen's achievement was not in vain. He had talent, but his diligence also accounted for a large part of the reason. Fang Mu didn't bother Ye Wen, but just watched. Ye Wen also noticed that Fang Mu was coming, and deliberately slowed down. Seeing reality up close is very different from Fang Mu's watching in movies. Ye Wen's punch speed seems to be very slow, but in fact it is very smart with one stroke and one movement. Made Fang Mu feel like he was not watching boxing practice, but watching a performance. Of course, this is the reason why Ye Wen's Wing Chun has reached a very high level. 10 minutes later, Ye Wen closed his fist, exhaled a stale breath, walked over to Fang Mu and said, "How about it, have you learned it?" Fang Mu thought for a while, then nodded and said, "Well, it's almost 9 out of 10. When Fang Mu was practicing boxing in Ye Wen, he also practiced in his mind. Fang Mu had just rehearsed Wing Chun 100 times in his mind in just 10 minutes. Ye Wen heard Fang Mu's answer, staggered, almost falling. He just asked habitually, but Fang Mu really nodded. Ye Wen coughed, "It doesn't matter if you haven't learned it, after all, it's not a genius." He thought that Fang Mu might be young and better face. Came back from abroad again, rarely at home, so he may not understand Chinese martial arts, but he was shocked before he finished speaking. Fang Mu actually played Wing Chun in front of him. This level of proficiency is completely unlike someone who has just practiced Wing Chun. Ye Wen became more and more surprised when he looked around, grabbing Fang Mu's hand, and excitedly said, "Fang Mu, are you sure you haven't studied Wing Chun?" Fang Mu shook his head, saying no. Actually, Ye Wen could have seen Fang Mu's walking posture yesterday. Fang Mu really doesn't have any Kung Fu foundation, let alone Wing Chun. Ye Wen noticed that he was a little gaff, and immediately let go, and said sternly, "Well, it's a good fight. Is more than good, it is very very good. I just watched myself practice Wing Chun once, and I was so proficient. What is this? A natural Kung Fu wizard. But how can a person who is a master be so obvious, or else how can I teach my apprentice in the future? Fang Mu also knew that Ye Wen still had a better face, and he didn't break it. Ye Wen asked sternly, Fang Mu, are you willing to be my apprentice? Master, didn't you already apprentice your teacher yesterday? Fang Mu puzzled. Yesterday I only accepted you as a named apprentice. This time it is true. You are willing. Ye Wen explained. The apprentices I collect are all named, and most of those apprentices are of mediocre talent and hard to be grand. Of course, it's not reluctant to teach. Ye Wen doesn't have the habit of retaining one hand, but those apprentices are talented and can't teach in accordance with their aptitude. There is only so much they can eat. However, someone with such a talent as Fang Mu is afraid that it will be a rare encounter in 100 years, and there is no one in a million. Therefore, Ye Wen wanted to teach Fang Mu all of his martial arts. Wing Chun is originally a small boxer, and there are not many people who study it. But now that Fang Mu, a genius of national arts, is different. Perhaps the line of Wing Chun can really be carried forward to him, and his ambitions for many years can also be achieved. Fang Mu heard this and immediately knelt down and said yes. Ye Wen's life is truly teaching his own Chinese martial arts without reservation, only his sons Ye Zheng and Bruce Lee. Ye Wen has not yet accepted Bruce Lee as a disciple, and Ye Zheng is still young. So, Fang Mu is the only one in the real story now. Besides, this is Ye Wen's world. It can be said that Ye Wen is the existence of the ceiling here. After all, Ye Wen is also a person with the protagonist's aura. So his Wing Chun is naturally not much different, and Wing Chun also has a buff. Just like in Ye Man's movie, he was beaten to death by boos every time, but in the end he was able to fight back successfully. If Ye Wen can teach him his best and add his own talents, I am afraid it will not be long before he can stand on the pinnacle of national martial arts in this world. We divide the state of martial arts into 3 stages, namely, Ming Jin, Dark Jin, and Hua Jin. The 3 realms are divided into early stage, middle stage, and late stage. The so-called Ming Jin is the power of seeing. At this stage, the power of the muscles is mainly used to match the heart and mind. At this level, you can smash a finger-thick wooden board with one punch. It is conceivable that such a punch can hit a person. An engine is an invisible force, also called softness, which is a sublimation of Mingjin. A kind of qi will be born in the body when it reaches this state, and the mind and qi will be combined. Of course, this kind of qi is not the internal force of martial arts. He can smash the inside of the plank with one punch without damaging the surface. The final transformation of qi is the combination of qi and force. This state of control of qi has reached the point where it can be used freely. Master, have you reached Huajin? Ye Wen just smiled, but didn't answer. But Fang Mu guessed, Ye Wen should be energized. Well, now I'm officially starting to learn boxing. Although you played Wing Chun just now, what you played was only physical but not intentional. Only the form and the meaning of Wing Chun can be lethal, and the meaning is the essence of a national martial art. It's Wing Chun's way of blood circulation, Ye Wen said. Qi and blood, this thing is mysterious and mysterious. Although it is not clear what it is, this is a real thing. As long as people who practice martial arts can't do without qi and blood. Qi and blood are the foundation of warriors, and blood affects the spirit and spirit of people. It can be said that the stronger the blood, the stronger the martial artist, and the blood is energy. In ancient times, some warriors with strong energy and blood could even deter ghosts and gods. This is also the reason why Ye Wen is now nearly 70 years old, and it looks like he is 40 years old. Ye Wen continued, my Wing Chun was learned from Mr. Chen Huashan, and I learned Wing Chun on the feet. Fang Mu also knew that the Wing Chun of Ye Wenlian in the movie was a Wing Chun improved by Chen Huashan. The Wing Chun practiced by Zhang Tianzi is a low-footed Wing Chun, so this is why Zhang Tianzi publicly challenged Ye Man to see who is the authentic Wing Chun. Wing Chun's boxing technique has small ideas, searching for bridges, markings, wooden stakes, Wing Chun's most particular focus is the hand, waist, horse, heart, mind, and strength. These 6 points are integrated. The intention is to guide the hands, waist, and horses to form a whole unity of offense and defense, focusing on both rigidity and flexibility. Ye Wen told Fang Mu about Wing Chun and Fang Mu's knowledge of martial arts, and Fang Mu listened carefully. If you want to practice a martial arts well, you must know the origin of the martial arts, so that you can truly grasp the essence of the martial arts. Wing Chun boxing is a very scientific and practical boxing technique. It punches fast and defends tightly. It has flexible stances and fast ups and downs. It has both offensive and defensive capabilities at the same time. It focuses on the combination of rigidity and flexibility, and consumes less energy. Wing Chun uses Inch-Jin to attack and defend. In terms of theory and mentality, it focuses on the center line, burying the span, chasing the shape face to face, taking care of left and right, coming and staying and sending, throwing hands straight and so on. Its strength lies in burying itself in combat. The neutral line theory is even more characteristic. The midline of the midline theory refers to the line from the top of the human body to the tail. When attacking, Wing Chun requires fighters to attack along their own midline to the enemy's midline. This is the shortest distance between the enemy and ourselves, with the same fist speed and close fist trajectory. Of course it hits faster. When attacking the enemy's midline, it is difficult for the opponent to slacken his strength, and the force is also heavier. Since the force of Wing Chun is based on the center line of the body, the punching force of the boxer is directly derived from the large muscles of the back of the body. This force method is formed with the martial arts system where the power is derived from the waist and arm muscles. Sharp contrast. Wing Chun martial artist, when he punches, his elbow is also looking for the center line of his body. When the elbow finds the center line of one's own body, punching the fist between the body and the arm in a straight line can produce unexpectedly powerful force. On the rooftop, Fang Mu fisted and bred vigorously. He had clearly mastered the essence of Wing Chun. Ye Wen looked at him and nodded frequently, his eyes filled with satisfaction. A few minutes later, Fang Mu took a long breath out. Fang Mu has practiced Wing Chun for a day. With his talent, Wing Chun boxing technique, and the movement of qi and blood, he knew it well, and then he had to keep training. Wait a moment before leaving, I'll have someone prepare the materials for the medicated bath. Ye Wen shouted. Medicinal bath. Fang Mu was puzzled. There was no inside when he watched the movie. It seems that this world is still somewhat different from the movie. Ye Wen explained, the body is fundamental. We martial arts practitioners cannot exercise blindly. Martial arts practice often consumes more energy and blood, so we need to cooperate with medicated baths, otherwise it will only harm our body. Originally, most people have to practice medicinal bath for 3 to 5 years, but you don't need it if you are talented. Fang Mu nodded and understood in his heart that he suddenly thought of Bruce Lee's death young, wondering if it was the reason for not cooperating with the medicated bath. I still have to remind him if there is a chance in the future. After a while, someone brought a bucket of unknown medicinal materials into a large wooden bucket, and poured hot water into it at the same time. Suddenly a strong smell of medicinal materials emanated. Fang Mu smelled the smell of the referee medicinal materials, and felt an extra energy in his inner body. Even if Fang Mu didn't know these medicinal materials, he knew that these medicinal materials were definitely valuable. So only in ancient times, there are poor people, rich martial artists, they are talking about warriors, and they need a lot of precious medicinal materials to strengthen their blood. Otherwise, you will lose your energy and blood before you get it. Even if you get the upper limit by luck, it will not be high. Ye Wen naturally also spent a lot of money, that is, only a true disciple like Fang Mu can get this kind of treatment, but others don't. Fang Mu, during the medicinal bath, used the Wing Chun Qi and blood operation method, so as to better absorb the essence of the medicinal materials. Ye Wen exhorted. Yet, Fang Mu nodded. Fang Mu entered the medicine bath barrel. The water made Fang Mu feel a bit tingling, and it was not known whether it was too hot or the reason for the power of the medicine. The brown medicinal materials in the wooden barrel rolled, exuding a strong smell of medicinal materials. As soon as Fang Mu stepped into it, he felt a wave of energy impacting. Fang Mu Station Bucket, using the Wing Chun Qi and blood operation method, immediately felt the two streams of heat in the body flowing from the bottom to the top of the feet, flowing in the body. Using Wing Chun's Qi and blood operation method, the two energies are channeled in the body and converge continuously, and the black impurities in Fang Mu's body are continuously discharged from the body. The medicinal power made his muscles tremble all over, and gradually local Mu felt that the medicinal power became more and more difficult to absorb. Fang Mu frowned, and the medicinal power in his body seemed to be almost saturated. A few minutes later, Fang Mu's medicinal power had reached a peak. Boom! A dull sound rang in Fang Mu's body, and Fang Mu's brows also stretched out. Ye Wen showed joy when he saw it. This sound was a sign of stepping into Ming Jin, and he secretly said in his heart, "Sure enough, he is talented." When he was learning boxing back then, his talent was also one of the best among many senior brothers, but it took him nearly half a year to enter Ming Jin. It takes 3 or 5 years for ordinary people to reach it. Fang Mu can reach it in one day. This talent can't keep up with others even by shooting horses. Fang Mu looked at the system attributes and knew that he had stepped into Ming Jin. Host, Fang Mu level, Ming Jin, early stage, skill, Wing Chun storage space, 1 cubic meter current world. Ip Man Fang Mu now has the physical quality of a professional athlete. It is even more trivial to hit 3 or 5 ordinary people alone. Fang Mu got up, feeling that he had a lot of vitality and blood, and he was full of energy. Yu reading www.yunsha.com seemed to have endless energy. The color of the medicinal materials in the medicine tube has also become lighter, and he has absorbed most of the medicinal effects of these medicinal materials. Fang Mu came to the wooden stake and started his hand. Fang Mu hits faster and faster, his hands are like phantoms, and his fists are gusting. Then, Kun Jin exerted strength. A fist mark suddenly appeared on the wooden stake. Fang Mu smiled slightly when he looked at the fist mark on the wooden stake. Wooden man posts are generally made of locust wood or elm wood, which is extremely hard. Can leave a fist mark on this, at least not less than 400 Jin of strength. Ye Wen looked at and nodded and said, "Your strength has reached Ming Jin. Consolidate your strength these few days. After your strength is consolidated, I will teach you 8 swords and 6 half sticks. 8 cut knives and 6 turdy sticks are unique sword and stick techniques in Wing Chun. 8 chop knives are 2 short knives, their swords are exquisite, and casualties are often seen in fights. They are as fast as lightning, and they are as powerful as bamboo. They are fierce offensive. They are very suitable for close combat. They can be said to be the real ultimate move of Wing Chun boxing. The 6 turdy stick is also a killer move. The technique is simple and sharp. There are only 7 moves from start to end. There are no extra bells and whistles, simple and practical. After all, this world is not as peaceful as the previous life. It is still chaotic now. Prosperity is just appearance. It is not certain that one day I will encounter a gang fire on the road, and I will suffer a tragedy in the fish pond, so it will be good for me to learn more. Fang Mu, you have to remember that our martial arts practitioners are not for fighting, they should be chivalrous, and must not bully the weak. The great chivalry is for the country and the people. Ye Wen exhorted. Fang Mu nodded and said, "Okay, Master." Ye Wen has practiced it all his life, and this is one of the reasons why Fang Mu wants to be a teacher. Fang Mu is practicing wooden stakes in the Fang Mu Martial Arts Hall. These days, Fang Mu has been consolidating his Wing Chun and has never slackened. A middle-aged man with a big beard walked into the martial arts gym and said, "Which one of you is Ye Wen?" Su Li walked over and looked at him with a bad tone, and asked, "Why are you looking for my master?" I heard that Ye Wen is the best here, and today I am here to ask for advice and advice. The man said loudly. Turned out to be here to kick the hall. People who open martial arts halls here often come to kick the hall. This can be regarded as a customary rule. When Ye Wen opened the martial arts gym here, he defeated more than half of the martial arts gyms before he was qualified to open the gym. But when Su Li saw this person, there was some disrespect in his words. Ye Wen said angrily, "My master has gone out because of something, but I don't need my master to deal with you, so I can." "You? I think it's better for you to call your master, otherwise you won't be able to recognize it after a while." The man's eyes showed disdain. "It's not a shame to speak up. Su Li has budgeted to practice Wing Chun for a few years. Although his studies are not very good, it is not a problem to beat 3 or 5 ordinary people alone. Okay, in that case, let's try it. Next, Zhang Yang, please enlighten me." Wing Chun, Su Li. After the two saluted, they set their positions. Su Li attacked first, punching with Japanese characters, and his fists were quite fast. Zhang Yang didn't evade, he directly resisted, and a few punches did not affect him at all. Su Li retreated to the place, shocked in his heart, his moves were of no use to him. "Hee, it's me!" Zhang Yang shouted mockingly. Then, a straight fist came up and rushed up, without any skill. Su Li put his hands on his chest, barely resisting the punch. Although blocked, Su Li is not so comfortable. With just one blow, his hand was shaking slightly. Upon seeing this, Zhang Yang said a little proudly, "Hee, how come your hands hurt?" He is a foreigner who is a foreigner, and his skin is thick and thick. Both his anti-strike ability and strength are much higher than Su Li. Moreover, Zhang Yang's boxing technique is quite domineering. Su Li can only be exhausted from defense, and there is no chance of attack. Fang Mu also watched from behind and shook his head. He could see that Su Li was about to lose. As expected, after a few moves, Zhang Yang punched Su Li's chest. Su Li snorted, backed up a few steps, and everyone hurried up to hold on. The only two of the apprentices taught by Ye Wen? Not so much. Zhang Yang laughed, his words full of contempt. "I'm coming." A voice came from behind everyone. Everyone looked back and saw that it was Fang Mu who was talking, and couldn't help but persuade him, "Junior, I think it's better to wait for Master to come back. Fang Mu has only learned boxing for a few days, how could he beat Zhang Yang? Su Li has been following Ye Wen to learn boxing for the longest time, even Su Li can't win, let alone Fang Mu." Fang Mu said lightly, "Don't worry, brother, I have confidence." Fang Mu just watched Su Li and Zhang Yang fought, and he could see that Zhang Yang was at best in the early stage. Fang Mu took a step forward and said, "Wing Chun, Fang Mu." "Zhang Yang." Zhang Yang took the lead in attacking, opening and closing his boxing skills. Fang Mu was still a little uncomfortable in the first actual combat, and quickly avoided, and was almost hit by Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang smiled upon seeing this, it doesn't seem to be so good. He thought that Fang Mu took the initiative to ask Ying to fight him. It was very powerful, and that was the case. Fang Mu remained unmoved, spread his hands and bowed his legs, ready to fight. After a few moves, Fang Mu gradually became familiar with him, and changed from dodge to offense. Also uses daily punches, punches the center line, and strikes more than a dozen punches in a flash. Zhang Yang still didn't evade, he wanted to resist Fang Mu's move. Compared with Su Li, Fang Mu's fists are faster, more vigorous and powerful. Zhang Yang's face changed, and when he received the punch from Lower Mu, he was a little unbearable to be beaten. The same moves were used by different people, but the effect was not effective. Obviously Fang Mu's Japanese punching fist was more powerful than Su Li's. "Boy, there are 2 times, I have to use my full strength." Zhang Yang said solemnly. "I didn't use my full strength either." Fang Mu replied. This is Fang Mu's first actual combat. Fang Mu was just a little proficient. The two of you come and go, fighting hard to separate. It was Zhang Yang who had thick skin, if ordinary people had been defeated by Fang Mu long ago. But Fang Mu has a way, Fang Mu has been hitting the same place. Even if Zhang Yang has thick skin, he can't stand being beaten in the same place all the time. Sure enough, Zhang Yang paused, and a flaw appeared. Fang Mu seized the opportunity and punched Zhang Yang's chest with a punch, and then his arm exerted force a second time. Suddenly, a huge explosive force burst out in front of Zhang Yang's chest. 160-70 catties, he was instantly knocked back several meters and fell to the ground. Zhang Yang looked horrified, this seemingly light punch was so powerful. Inch Jin. This is Kun Jin. The people behind Fang Mu were shocked. Fang Mu used Kun Jin just now. This is an advanced technique in Wing Chun. Most people can't grasp the essentials at all, even Su Li hasn't grasped it. They didn't expect that this junior came to master the essence of Wing Chun only a few days ago. His strength is even higher than that of the master. It's really unbelievable. Looking at Zhang Yang lying on the ground, Fang Mu still did not let him go. A stride came in front of Zhang Yang, and then he took a punch and took Zhang Yang directly to the door. Seeing this, Zhang Yang quickly shouted, "I admit defeat." Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Fang Mu's fist stopped in front of Zhang Yang, and Zhang Yang was scared into a cold sweat. At this time, Ye Wen walked in. Zhang Yang got up with a bang and knelt on the ground and said, "Master Ye, please accept me as a disciple." Ye Wen looked dazed, he didn't know what had happened yet, someone worshipped him as a teacher. Although it is said that the master is a teacher, this person is too old, with a big beard, and he is about to catch up with his own age. Hurriedly helped him up, if he was seen by other acquaintances, his face would not be able to hang on. "If Master Ye doesn't accept me, I will kneel down until Master Ye accepts me," Zhang Yang said when Ye Wen didn't agree. Ye Wen couldn't get the people out directly, so he had to agree temporarily. Zhang Yang got up and the other Mu hugged his fist and said, "Brother Fang." "Ahem, you just call me Fang Mu." Fang Mu was a little embarrassed. Although the apprenticeship is ranked in succession, Fang Mu is still a bit uncomfortable when he is called a senior by this man who is more than 10 or 20 years older than himself. How can this work? You should first approve of your teacher, and your strength is stronger than me. This brother deserves it. Fang Mu had no choice but to respond. Yet asked, "Zhang Yang, where are you from? Why do you want to worship me as a teacher?" "I'm from Foshan. I heard people say that Master Ye used to be in Foshan and beat Foshan invincible. His skill is very high, so I'm here," Zhang Yang said. Ye Wen nodded and said sternly, "In this way, I will accept you temporarily. If I find that your character is inappropriate, I will expel you from the teacher's door." Ye Wen looked at this Yang with a naive face, and didn't want to be a rapist, so he agreed to accept him. "Thank you, Master." Zhang Yang smiled. In a blink of an eye, Fang Mu has been learning boxing for a month, and he has gotten acquainted with all the seniors. There is no better relationship with senior brother Su Li. I said, "Brother, why do you come here to drink tea every day?" Su Li concealed, "The law and order here is not very good, and the master's son is studying here again. I can just protect him here. Is that right? I think you have fallen in love with teacher Huang, right?" Fang Mu looked at Su Li with a smile. He had already noticed that his brother likes a teacher in this school, so he basically drinks tea here every day just to take a look at the teacher. Su Li was a little embarrassed to see Fang Mu dismantled it. "Senior brother, do you want me to teach you a few tricks, keep you tracked to teacher Huang?" Fang Mu said to Su Li. Su Li was overjoyed, "Really, do you really have a way?" "Of course, you know, I came back from studying abroad, this kind of thing is a piece of cake for me." Fang Mu patted his chest. Su Li grabbed Fang Mu's hand, and said with dizziness in his eyes, "If you help your brother solve this problem, do whatever you tell me to do. As long as you listen to me, keep you tracked." Fang Mu broke free of Su Li's hand, and thought he was if he didn't know it. At this time, Fang Mu saw a middle-aged man pulling a cart with a towel around his neck and a greasy back, followed by a 6 or 7-year-old child. Fang Mu feels that this person is a bit familiar. Yes, isn't this person Zhang Tianzi? This Zhang Tianzi also studied Wing Chun, and his Wing Chun is not much worse than Ye Wen. Fang Mu suddenly thought that he would make money. "Brother, I have left beforehand, you will talk about that later." Fang Mu patted Su Li on the shoulder and immediately followed him. "Brother, for the rest of my life is in your hands," Su Li shouted at Fang Mu's back. Fang Mu followed Zhang Tianzi all the way to a boxing gym. Fang Mu walked into the boxing gym and immediately heard all kinds of roars in the boxing gym. Many people gathered around a circular field. Inside, a lean man in his 30s and another stronger man were punching. Both of them were bruised and blood, and the situation was obvious. Under the strong offensive of his opponent, the thin man can only be forced to defend continuously, and has no strength to fight back. The so-called 100 shao must lose. As expected, after a few rounds, the stronger man seized the lean man's gap and punched him the head. After the lean man was hit, with blood in his mouth, he fell to the ground and passed out. The referee waved his hand to announce the victory of the strong man, and then the people around with the money in their hands waved their arms vigorously and screamed. There are not a few boxing gyms like Xiangjiang, and most of the people who come are coolies from the bottom. Boxing gym will arrange people to go up and fight every day, the people below can place bets, and the winning side can get a generous bonus. Therefore, it is considered to be one of the few in Xiangjiang, which allows them to release their pressure and vent their dissatisfaction. The rules of the boxing gym here are very simple. When two people go to the stage to fight, if the other party falls to the ground, it is considered a victory. In addition to not being able to use weapons, it is common for people to fist to the flesh, and to be vaguely beaten. Had signed the status of life and death before playing, so regardless of life or death, even the police would not say anything. There are various insidious moves for punching here, only the winner is qualified to speak, no matter what insidious moves you use. Fang Mu thought for a while, went to the registration office to sign up. He came here to make money. Naturally Fang Mu intends to win by himself. "Why, can't you suppress yourself to win?" Fang Mu asked. "Some of the applicants don't know how to do it." He really hasn't encountered this kind of situation that pressures himself to win. Since this gentleman is so confident, how about letting him control himself to win? Walked over to a man in a suit, leather shoes, sunglasses, and a mustache. "This person is the titular boss of this place, Ma Jingsheng." "Thank you then." Fang Mu waved his hand. In this situation, Ma Jingsheng, who has managed the boxing gym for so many years, is not unheard of. But every time this kind of person usually ends in defeat, since someone is so confident and wants to give him money, how can he not accept it? Ma Jingsheng looked at Fang Mu's back, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Waved his hand to the little brother on the side and said, "Give him a better roll and call that Thai guy." Then gave the referee another wink, and the referee nodded secretly. Fang Mu had noticed these little moves a long time ago, but he didn't care, he was quite confident in his own strength. Besides, he has seen from the movie that there are no masters in this boxing gym. The only master is afraid that Frankie, the owner here, is mostly thugs. After pressing the handprint of life and death, Fang Mu was ready to play. Fang Mu saw that the boxing gym gave him 1 to 20 odds. It seems that the opponent arranged for him is relatively strong, otherwise it is impossible to have such a high odds. But this is exactly what Fang Mu wanted. He was anxious that the boxing gym would increase his odds so that he could win more money. Fang Mu stepped onto the field. The opponent was a thin man in his 30s. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com had a red scarf tied on his limbs and head. The referee explained to the audience below with a trumpet, "One side is the winning player in our boxing gym, and the other is Fang Mu, a novice gymnast." The people around cheered and called Chai Ba's name in unison. This boxer named Guiba is very popular in this gym. The people who generally fight with guessing can be disabled at the slightest level, and die at the worst. It is precisely because of the cruelty that he has a high popularity in this boxing gym. Usually, I can't see Guiba making a shot. I rarely see it once today, which can't help but make them even more excited. Guiba also moved his muscles and bones, looking at Fang Mu cruelly, as if he would be torn to pieces in the next second. This guessing is from Thailand, so I practiced Muay Thai. Practicing Muay Thai is more harmful to the human body, and professional Muay Thai fighters are basically short-lived. However, the power is also huge, fighting with the hard parts of the human body like elbows and knees. If an ordinary person is hit, it is often severely injured. Even if a martial artist is hit, his combat effectiveness will drop by more than half. This boxing gym arranges him with this kind of ruthless role. Basically, he doesn't want him to be complete. Following the referee's order, Gessi didn't hesitate at all. Directly kicked at Fang Mu's head with a whip leg, wanting to end the battle with one move. If you are hit by this whip leg, the lightest person is disabled. The speed of guessing the tyrant was very fast, and he came to Fang Mu in no time. Fang Mu evaded quickly, and Fang Mu was almost hit by him. Is this a life and death battle? Although Fang Mu is a little uncomfortable. However, he felt that his whole body became enthusiastic. He was born for war. In a blink of an eye, guessing is another heavy punch. Everyone saw that Fang Mu could only evade passively. They hushed and mocked Fang Mu. They thought it was a master who came, so that was it. But Fang Mu was unaffected, paying attention to the opponent's punch. Fang Mu's avoidance became more and more relaxed, and Wing Chun's legs were quite agile, and this guessing tyrant had nothing to do with him. It's time to fight back. Fang Mu moved forward and came to Guiba. Guess the tyrant saw that Fang Mu took the initiative to attack, his face was fierce, and he hit Fang Mu with an uppercut. Fang Mu turned sideways slightly, escaped the blow, and then seized the gap. Punched the boxer on the ribs, which is one of the most vulnerable places in the human body. After Guiba was hit by Fang Mu, he immediately took a few steps back, turned his head, and moved his muscles and bones. Although people who practice Muay Thai have relatively high physical resistance to fights, it is uncomfortable to receive Fang Mu's punch. Guiba also put away his small heart, and got serious. Fang Mu's vitality and blood surged, and he hit the bends and punches very fast. Only a few punches were given for guessing the tyrant, and Fang Mu had already punched more than a dozen punches. Wing Chun's boxing method is generally centered on the body, punching the center line. It is difficult for the opponent to unload, and he can only passively fight him hard. Fang Mu pierced Guiba's eyes with a tender finger, and then stepped on Guiba's knee joint. Guiba's face was painful, and his body leaned forward. In the next few seconds, Fang Mu threw a dozen punches as dense as raindrops, all of them fell on the face of the fighter, and the fighter had no time to defend. Boom! Guess the bully fell to the ground, his eyes pale. Just when Fang Mu wanted to give Guiba a fatal blow, the referee stopped in time. Fang Mu's fist instantly stopped in front of Guiba. Obviously the boxing gym is blatantly helping him, but this is someone else's place. Furthermore, Fang Mu also wanted to see what else could be done in this boxing gym. He didn't use his full strength yet. Guiba was supported by someone and led to the backstage of the boxing gym. A few minutes later, the original limping guess became free to move, as if he had never been injured. However, Fang Mu noticed that Guiba's eyes were congested, his pupils gradually dilated, and the sanity in his eyes slowly disappeared. If Fang Mu guessed right, he should have been doping. This is the usual method of boxing gyms. This kind of stimulant is extremely harmful to the human body. Often after use, the whole person will be extremely weak, at least 2 months cannot get out of bed. The good thing about is that there will be no pain within half an hour. Even if you break his hamstrings, he won't blink. The referee gave an order, and the last trace of reason in Guiba's eyes disappeared. Fang Mu was the only enemy in his eyes, guessing the tyrant rushed towards Fang Mu like a beast. Fang Mu has not used his full strength just now, but now facing such a beast, Fang Mu must use 12 points of strength to deal with it. Guess Ba Fei bent his knees, like a fierce tiger leaping towards Fang Mu. Fang Mu avoided the blow. Snapped. Guiba hit the floor under his feet with this blow, and the floor shattered instantly. The consequences of this blow on Fang Mu were disastrous. Can't fight with this guessing tyrant, he is like a machine now, without consciousness, the only purpose is to hit Fang Mu. One person and one machine fight hard, and the consequences can be imagined. Fang Mu is hovering with Guiba. Fang Mu's current advantage is wisdom. Guiba is now a beast, only fighting with Fang Mu by instinct. As long as Fang Mu grasps the weakness of Guiba, he can defeat him. Finally, after a dozen rounds, Fang Mu leaned over to avoid a blow, then grabbed Chai Ba's arm, turned his 5 fingers into claws, twisted in the opposite direction, and hit hard. Crack! A clear voice sounded. Guess his hand bone is broken and his right hand is severely distorted. But Guiba didn't feel it at all. But guessing's arm is dead, even if he uses stimulants, his bones have broken. I couldn't lift my arm even more. Fang Mu stepped back and kicked Guiba at the joints of his legs to knock him down. Then, using Kun Jin to exert force in a short distance, the terrifying power burst out instantly. Crack! Crack! There were 2 more crisp sounds, and Fang Mu directly interrupted Guiba's 2 legs. Broken bones protruded directly from the knees, with bright red blood, quite bloody. Guiba's eyes still showed crazy colors, struggling to stand up. But the joints of the legs were broken by Fang Mu, his body lost support, swayed and fell again. Victory or defeat is a foregone conclusion. Then, Fang Mu delivered a fatal blow. Guess the tyrant, die. Fang Mu, win. The crowd around was boiling instantly. They didn't expect this young rookie guy, who seemed to be so weak, was so powerful that he even won the guessing game. Although they lost the money, it was worth watching such a hot game. Has never kept his hands on the enemy Fang Mu. After all, either you die or I die. This was also the first time Fang Mu had killed, but he didn't feel any discomfort, but it was natural. Fang Mu took the winning money and prepared to leave, but saw Ma Jingsheng approaching with a smile. Ma Jingsheng said, I wonder if Mr. Fang is interested in being a contestant in our boxing gym? I can give you 20%. Ma Jingsheng wanted to ask Fang Mu to be his boxing fighter. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com is to prevent people like Fang Mu from leaving after winning. A bet can often reach thousands of Hong Kong dollars, and Ma Jingsheng gave him 20%, which is equal to his half-year salary. But Fang Mu said indifferently, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. After speaking, he left straight away. He is not from this world, and he will leave sooner or later. It is useless to ask for so much money, and he doesn't want to be a thug. His goal is the pinnacle of national martial arts. Ma Jingsheng looked at Fang Mu's back, his face instantly became gloomy, and he threw the cigar in his mouth heavily on the ground, and said angrily, he's Ma, it's so easy for him to win my money. The little brother beside immediately leaned forward and said, Boss, I will take someone to clean him up. When Ma Jingsheng heard this, he immediately slapped the little brother and said, You are so funny. He sent someone to teach him as soon as he won money. Is he afraid that others will say that we can't afford to lose? Then who else will come? Punch here. The younger brother lowered his head and said, Boss, what do you say? Ma Jingsheng said gloomily, let him be arrogant for a while, then clean him up later. the most important thing now is to take down the school land. Ma Jingsheng also wants to send someone to clean up Fang Mu, but besides guessing, there are a few small characters around him, nothing great. With Fang Mu's skill, if you want to keep him, I'm afraid that no one in a dozen or 20 people can keep him. There is a lack of people around me now, and those who come to pick up Fang Mu. And his boss, Frankie, has already urged him, and only gave him 2 weeks to solve the school affairs as soon as possible, otherwise his job will not be kept. Therefore, in contrast, Fang Mu's matter is still set aside first. Fang Mu had just stepped into the martial arts gym, everyone was hitting wooden stakes, and Ye Wen was teaching a 15 or 16-year-old boy to practice boxing. This boy has a firm face, bronzed skin, and a lean body, but it can be seen that there is a huge amount of power under the muscles. Ye Wen saw that Fang Mu came back, stopped practicing, and smiled at Fang Mu and said, "Fang Mu, come and get to know him, this is my new apprentice Xiao Long, and you will be brothers in the future." Xiao Long saw the other side. Mu shouted, "Brother!" Fang Mu nodded. Xiao Long turned out to be his junior, which made Fang Mu a little excited. He asked before, but he admired Xiao Long very much. He was faintly known as a master of martial arts when he was less than 30 years old. And his own Jeet Kune Do is even more resounding internationally. But he is only a 15 or 16-year-old boy now. "Little dragon, how familiar you are, I still have something to ask, Brother Fang." Ye Wen said to Xiao Long. "Good master." Bruce Lee said. "Brother, can you fight me?" Xiao Long said to the other side. Fang Mu was taken aback, but he didn't expect Xiao Long to want to compete with him, which surprised him a bit. The reason Xiao Long wants to fight Fang Mu is because he has his pride in his heart. His martial arts talent is his pride. He learned boxing very quickly since elementary school. People from Shili Baxiang praised him as a martial arts genius. Now that he has just worshipped Ye Wen, I heard that there was a brother who was a martial arts genius who had never met in a century. He felt a little dissatisfied, so he wanted to compete with Fang Mu. When everyone in boxing gym heard it, they became interested and stopped hitting wooden piles. Fang Mu knew it was definitely an evildoer. They arrived at Mingjin just a few days after they arrived, and they didn't know about this new junior. Now this junior brother actually wants to discuss with Fang Mu, just so, now we can let them see how strong this new junior brother is. Fang Mu nodded and said, "Yes, but it's only when you click." Xiao Long replied, "Good brother." The two walked to the center of the boxing gym, and everyone was watching. Su Li joked, "Junior brother Fang, don't let the younger junior brother defeat you, it wouldn't look good like that." Everyone smiled, Fang Mu also smiled, and immediately faced the dragon. "Brother, be careful, I'm here," Xiao Long reminded. The small dragon fist made a tiger shape, like a tiger descending from the mountain, attacking Fang Mu. Fang Mu couldn't avoid it, and when Xiaolong's punch came over, he slightly avoided a punch. Seeing that the little dragon didn't hit it, the tiger fist suddenly turned down. Fang Mu was on the side again. The tiger Xiaolong never bit him. Su Li and others took a look and exclaimed, "Junior brother Fang's strength has improved again. It is much stronger than the previous few days. It is really too enchanting." Everyone nodded in agreement, with envy in their eyes. Fang Mu was really becoming stronger visible to the naked eye, and this talent could only be envied. Xiao Long changed several boxing techniques one after another, but Fang Mu couldn't help it. Xiao Long pads his feet, raises his right foot, and the opponent Mu kicks out 3 kicks in succession. Fang Mu narrowed his eyes, and the famous Li Sanjiao had already appeared at this time. Fang Mu's figure shook, and he was full of energy, hitting the soles of Xiaolong's feet directly. The little dragon felt a huge force coming. He quickly retreated, and at the same time, with the help of Fang Mu's power, he quickly retreated and opened a distance. Fang Mu did not wait for the little dragon to land, and stepped directly towards the little dragon. Fang Mu's arm moved, fists gusted. Xiaolong's body shape changed rapidly in the air and escaped Fang Mu's punch. It's the most difficult to change body shape in the air. Ordinary people can only be passively beaten in this situation, but I didn't expect that Xiaolong could change his body in an instant in the air. Just when Xiaolong landed and wanted to attack again, Fang Mu's fist stopped in front of Xiaolong. Fang Mu won. Fang Mu didn't show all his strength, it was just that the brothers and sisters exchanged views with each other. Xiaolong also felt that Fang Mu hadn't done his best. Although he lost, he was not discouraged. Xiaolong, I think your boxing is a bit mixed. Fang Mu said. Xiaolong's styles of boxing are more complex, including Xingyi Iquan, Hongchuan, Tongbiquan, all of which have different styles, but Taijiquan is the main one. Naturally there are advantages. Every boxing technique has its drawbacks. Xiaolong uses another set of boxing techniques to make up for it. The basic concept of Jeet Kune Do created by Xiaolong later comes from this. The disadvantages of are also very obvious. What they have learned is too complicated, and the knowledge is not precise. As long as you encounter someone who is a bit accomplished in boxing, the dragon will definitely lose. Xiaolong touched his head, embarrassed and said, I was born in Chief Dart, so it's a bit messy. Fang Mu knew that Xiaolong's grandfather was a dart, and he was considered a family of martial arts. Do you want to gather the best of 100 families, and then create a boxing technique of your own? Fang Mu asked. Xiaolong said excitedly, I just want to be like this. Unexpectedly, someone understood what he meant, which made Xiaolong excited. Fang Mu thought a little, I will send you a sentence, the inability is the law, and the infinity is the finite. Xiaolong's heart was shocked when he heard it, and he was quite moved, muttering these two words that Fang Mu had said in his mouth. The words Fang Mu uttered were the essence of Jeet Kune Do. Even if Fang Mu didn't say it, Xiaolong himself would understand it later, but now it's just a little bit ahead of him. After a long time, Xiaolong recovered his senses, and he reaffirmed the other party and said, Brother, can you teach me Wing Chun? I can teach you Tai Chi. Ye Wen has many apprentices. Although Xiaolong has a good talent, he still hasn't reached the level of Fang Mu, so there are few opportunities for Ye Wen to teach alone. And Ye Wen told him that Fang Mu is a martial arts genius, and he has learned about Wing Chun 9 out of 10, so he brought it up. Fang Mu immediately agreed and said, no problem. Xiaolong has learned Tai Chi from his father Li Haiquan since he was a child, and he also has a good foundation in Kung Fu. Although Li Haiquan's Tai Chi cannot be said to be a master, he can be regarded as everyone. Moreover, Li Haiquan and Ye Wen are friends, which is one of the reasons why Xiaolong will worship Ye Wen as his teacher. Since Xiaolong has proposed it, even if Xiaolong doesn't teach him Tai Chi, he should also teach him how to practice Wing Chun. After all, Xiaolong is his idol, and he is still his junior. Of course it is incumbent. Xiaolong listened to Fang Mu and Fang Mu agreed, and said with joy, then let's start now. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Fang Mu nodded and said, okay. After half a month, Fang Mu and Xiaolong practice pushing hands in the martial arts gym. People who don't understand the national martial arts, look at Fang Mu and Xiaolong's push hands, they must think they are evenly matched, but those who understand national martial arts can see at a glance that Xiaolong is at a disadvantage and has been taken away by Fang Mu. Fang Mu's pushing hand gradually increased, and Xiaolong's bottom plate gradually became unstable. After a few times, Xiaolong was thrown out by Fang Mu. Shooting people like a bullet, with a flick of a finger, Fang Mu has the essence. Fang Mu walked over and pulled Xiaolong up and said, is it all right? Brother, you are really a pervert, it's only half a month, I'm not as good as you. Xiaolong smiled. Fang Mu followed him to learn Tai Chi, but it was only half a month. And he has been practicing Tai Chi since he was a child, and he has practiced for more than 10 years, but he hasn't practiced as much as Fang Mu for half a month. This is not only a martial arts wizard that is rare in a century, it is a monster. Tai Chi emphasizes the use of softness to overcome rigidity, 4 or 2 strokes of 1,000 catties. The current Tai Chi is not the Tai Chi used for health preservation in later generations. This is the real trick of killing and cutting. National magic is a killing technique. Every national magic is created for the purpose of taking human lives. The Chinese martial arts of later generations have long since been cut down into something to watch and keep in good health. Fang Mu checked the system panel. He has reached the late stage of Ming Jin, and Tai Chi has also been added to his skills. Host, Fang Mu level, Ming Jin, late stage, skills, Wing Chun, Tai Chi storage space, 1 cubic meter current world. Ip Man. The proficiency of this system is generally not displayed at all, it will only be displayed when you practice the boxing technique to a certain level. Fang Mu was practicing boxing in the martial arts hall this day, and seeing Xiaolong returning to the martial arts hall with a swollen nose, he immediately asked what was going on. "Brother, I saw them bullying, so I went up to the theory if I couldn't bear it, and then they took advantage of the crowd and beat me like this," Xiaolong replied. Xiaolong is already bright, and according to his skill, it is not a problem to hit 3 or 5 at a time. It seems that those people are not ordinary people. Fang Mu showed anger on his face, and immediately said, "Take me there and I'll help you be fair." Fang Mu was quite angry. If he dared to hit his junior, he must apologize. If he doesn't apologize, then hit them to apologize. Xiaolong took Fang Mu to a tea house. 7 or 8 men in black clothes were sitting there drinking tea, all of them sturdy. In this age when many people can't afford to eat, it seems that they are not ordinary people. Fang Mu stepped forward and said coldly, "You beat my junior, right?" One of the leading men looked at the animal husbandry, and smiled contemptuously, "What is it, you with thin arms and legs, want to find a place?" The people behind them burst into laughter. Fang Mu was indeed thinner compared to them. "Buck teeth, play with him," the leading man said to a buck-teeth man beside him. Fang Mu waved his hand and said indifferently, "No need, let's go together." Everyone was in an uproar. This kid still dared to speak wild words. When the leading man heard these words, his face suddenly sank. Is it really certain to look down on them so much, or is it deliberately bluffing? However, he immediately judged that Fang Mu must be a bluff. He had also practiced national arts before, and of course he knew the division of national arts. People like them are all good players who can beat 2 of them one at a time. If you want to beat them all by one person, even a master of dark Jin will have to work hard. Let alone Fang Mu, he didn't believe that Fang Mu could reach the realm of dark power at such a young age. He used to learn boxing from a master, and his master was only a Jin, and his master was only able to reach a Jin after his 60th birthday. The leader thought about this in an instant, and immediately judged that Fang Mu was bluffing, and smiled softly, "Boy, bluffing is useless to me." Fang Mu faintly smiled and said, "Is it a bluff? You'll know if you try it." The look on the face of the leading man changed, and then his hands were claws, like a pair of eagle claws. He quickly protruded and took the lead. Fang Mu didn't evade, kicked out 2 feet instantly, kicked the leading man's claws away, and kicked him with the other kick directly on his chest, kicking him a few meters away. The man lay on the ground, clutching his chest, coughing a few times, and shouted to the younger brother beside him, "Why are you watching? Come on!" Everything happened so fast that everyone had no time to react. The leading man reminded that everyone was awakened, and then Fang Mu Tuan was surrounded. One person hugged Fang Mu's waist, and another person tied Fang Mu's hands in an attempt to lock Fang Mu. Fang Mu didn't rush, kicked back and hit the man's lower body. The man fell to the ground instantly, his face curled up on the ground with pain. Kyushu is not as fancy as in the movie, but uses the most effective Fang Mu to complete the attack on the enemy. Fang Mu kicked the other person away again, but within 3 minutes, a piece of land fell on the ground. Fang Mu came to the lead man and said coldly, "Apologize to my junior brother." Fang Mu's eyes made him a little scared, but he still said loudly, "Boy, do you know who we are?" "We are." Fang Mu interrupted him without waiting for him to finish saying, "I care who you are, apologize. If you don't apologize, don't want your 2 legs." At this time, a 23-year-old bald youth appeared behind Fang Mu. The leading man suddenly said as if seeing a savior, "Boss, do help me." Seeing this, the bald man was not in a hurry for Mu Mu's action. Instead, he asked the human being on the side, "What's the matter? Tell the truth." The younger brother also said it out, without concealing the least. After listening to the little brother, the bald man's face instantly became cold, and he said to everyone, "Is what he said is true?" The bald-headed man saw that everyone was silent, he knew it, and said to the leading man, "Apologize to him and pay double the medical expenses." The man quickly got up and apologized to Xiao Long. Seeing this, Fang Mu glanced at the bald man, and didn't want to pursue any more. When was about to leave, he was yelled out by a voice, "Wait, we apologize. The money is also lost." "But what about the one who beat me?" It was the bald youth who spoke. Fang Mu asked back, "Then what do you want?" The bald man looked at Fang Mu, his eyes full of warfare and said, "Fight me." He saw Fang Mu's age and his strength so high, he couldn't help feeling wary. Fang Mu suddenly became interested, this person was a bit interesting. Fang Mu prepared his hand, and the bald man also raised his fists. The bald man stepped on his feet, his blood surged, his stature rushed forward, rushed towards Fang Mu quickly, and punched out. Seeing the bald man launching an attack, Fang Mu didn't rush, lunged out, and also punched. Fists crossed, and there was a muffled noise. Then, Fang Mu kicked out with his left foot. Seeing this, the bald-headed man also immediately used his leg to kick Fang Mu. There was another muffled noise, and the two separated with the help of one foot. Fang Mu did not wait for the bald man to react, and rushed towards the bald man again. The two came and went with dozens of strokes, and they were even on top of each other. "Attention, I'm going to be serious," the bald man reminded. "Although take the shot," Fang Mu calmly said. "Both are just testing each other's strength. Now that the warm-up is over, it will be real." The bald man's eyes stunned, his fists clenched, his strength gathered in his hands, and his forearm veins violent. Then both fists protruded, like two heavy cannons, wrapped in a huge force. Chao Fang Mu attacked, quite domineering. Fang Mu did not dodge. Tai Chi used Tai Chi, holding yin and yang in his hands, holding the hands of the bald man, while kicking his foot to make his bottom unstable, and then he took advantage of the trend. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Boom. The bald man fell heavily to the ground. "Good boy, Tai Chi is a good one." The bald man patted grayly. "Your artillery punch is also good." Fang Mu replied. Du Hong's artillery punch is really good, and his strength is also the strength of Ming Jin's late stage. If Fang Mu hadn't learned Tai Chi, he definitely couldn't beat him in this way. "Have fun. It's been a long time since I played so cool. Boy, I have made you a friend, what is your name?" the bald man said loudly. Fang Mu had a good impression of Du Hong, and he did not rely on the large number of people, he acted upright, and his grievances were clear, so Fang Mu also deliberately met. "Wing Chun, Fang Mu. Hung Men, Du Hong. Are you from the Hong clan?" Fang Mu asked. Hung Men powers are all over Xiangjiang, and even Hung Men powers abroad. Many celebrities in history have joined Hung Men. "Well, I am Hung Men's Double Flower Red Stick." It turns out that this person is Hong Clan's Double Flower Red Stick. No wonder he can fight Fang Mu for so long. Double bonus red cudgel, is a high-level thug in the gang. You must have outstanding skills before you can do it. His status in Hungmen is not low. At this time, a man in black ran not far away and came to Du Hong's side. Leaned forward and said a few words in Du Hong's ear. Du Hong's face changed slightly. Immediately, he clasped his fists and said to the other party, "Brother Fang, I have something to deal with, so I will say goodbye first, and I will have another chance to fight with you in the future. If there is anything that can't be solved, I will report my name to Hungmen Du Hong. Head, others will still give me a bit of a thin face." "Okay, I have a chance to fight again," Fang Mu replied with a fist. Du Hong left with a group of his men. Fang Mu also took the dragon back to the martial arts hall. The next day, Fang Mu and Su Li were drinking tea at the tea house in front of the school. Su Li asked, "Fang Mu, what do you tell me to wait here? Aren't you going to chase Teacher Huang? I'm creating a heroic opportunity for you to save the beauty." Fang Mu smiled. "What opportunity?" Su Li wondered. At this time, a group of gangsters walked toward the school aggressively, obviously unkind. "Fang Mu, you are not talking about this, right?" Su Li pointed at the dozen people. Fang Mu nodded. "Are these people the actors you found?" "I know, I'll ask them to act like a little." Su Li smiled. Su Li thought that these people were Fang Mu's invitation to play a scene of heroes saving the beauty, so as to help him chase Teacher Huang. "What actors? These people are gangsters, I just accidentally heard their plan." Fang Mu said silently. "What? It's not an actor, so many people, I can't deal with it alone." Su Li flinched. Although he has studied Wing Chun for 5 years, he can barely play a few, but now he can't afford to ask him to deal with so many at once. Fang Mu patted Su Li on the shoulder and said, "I didn't say to call you alone, isn't there still me?" "Yes," the master told him that he is a martial arts wizard who has never met in a century. Besides, he reached his 5-year achievement in just 1 day. "What else can I worry about?" Su Li was full of confidence and went straight into the school. In the school, the documents were scattered, and these people messed up everywhere. Many teachers were curled up in the corners. "Old man, don't toast or not eat, drink fine wine, and obediently put a fingerprint on the contract." A red-haired pressed the headmaster's head. The principal took his hand back and refused to sign. Seeing that the principal refused to sign, the gangster took the principal's hand and beat it hard, forcing him to put his fingerprints on it. May have changed the original sequence of some movies because of Fang Mu. Ma Jingsheng should have come together this time, but Ma Jingsheng was not seen here. Su Li enters the school, and when he comes up he kicks the red-haired gangster into the air. The red-haired got up, looked at Su Li with fierce eyes. "You want to die, don't you?" The red-haired roared, took out the knife from his waist, and brandished it at Su Li. Su Li is not in a hurry. At any rate, he has also practiced Wing Chun for a few years. Although he has not yet reached Ming Jin, he can still play a red-haired bastard. Su Li dodged the knife and hit the red-haired bastard's arm with a punch, knocking the knife in his hand to the ground. Then he flew and kicked on the red-haired man's face, and the red-haired man was knocked to the ground immediately. The red-haired was so dizzy by Su Li, he shook his head and said to the younger brother beside him, "What are you guys doing in a daze? Hurry up." Everyone reacted and rushed up to surround Su Li. Fang Mu watched quietly from the side. Su Li's heroic saving effect had been achieved, and the look in Su Li's eyes had changed from Teacher Huang. Now it's time for Fang Mu to play, otherwise Su Li will be beaten. Fang Mu dashed in, like a wolf entering the flock, unimpeded. Kicked it directly, and the instantly flew upside down on the wall, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Took another palm and slashed it directly on the throat of another gangster, making his face flushed and painful. Seeing that they couldn't beat Fang Mu, those people took out their knives to catch Teacher Huang and threatened them. "Be careful." Fang Mu was dealing with several other gangsters, and he was too far away from teacher Huang. Seeing that Hong Mao pulled out his knife, he could only remind him in surprise. Su Li immediately stretched out his hand, ignoring the blade, and grabbed the knife with his hand. A deep cut was also made in his hand. Fang Mu has already beaten up everyone here. Fang Mu tied these gangsters together with rope. Teacher Huang was bandaging Su Li's wounds. Su Li secretly gave Fang Mu a thumbs up. Although he suffered a little injury, he could ignore the benefits he had gained. Although heroes save the United States is an old routine, but it has to be said that it is the most effective. Ye Wen also came to the school. As soon as he entered the door, he saw a mess on the ground, with a group of people trapped on the ground. Hurriedly asked what had happened, and Fang Mu recounted what happened. Ye Wen nodded and asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but the brother was hurt a bit." Fang Mu pointed at Su Li. Ye Wen looked at Su Li and said, "Ali, how are you?" Su Li saw Ye Wen coming over and immediately stood up and said, "Master, I'm fine, teacher Huang has already bandaged me up." Ye Wen knew that Su Li was interesting to teacher Huang, looked at teacher Huang, shook his head and said with a smile, "You." Ye Wen turned around and said to Mu Mu, "Fang Mu, call the police and call Fat Sir to come over." Although Fang Mu knew that it was useless to call the police, he still listened to Ye Wen's words. Most of the bosses behind these gangsters are foreign businessmen, and most of the high-level police officers are foreigners. These people are embarrassed. Even if they are caught, it won't take long for these people to be released. "Master, I don't think these people succeeded this time." Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com will probably come again next time. I will stay here for a few days. Besides, Ah Zheng will not come here to go to school these days. To prevent those people from doing other things. Fang Mu asked yet. According to the original plot, Ma Jingsheng's group was stopped by Ye Wen during the day, and they came to set the school on fire at night, and immediately abducted Ye Wen's son, Ye Zheng, to threaten Ye Wen. Although Fang Mu was the one who had beaten them, but just in case, he told Ye Zheng not to come again for the time being. Yet, Ye Wen nodded, agreeing. As expected, after Fei Bo caught the group in. Within half an hour, someone called Fei Bo's boss and declared that he would be released. Fei Bo can't do anything about it. Strictly speaking, he is a part-time worker. Although he is very unhappy, he can only let him go. This is how Xiangzhong is now. The prosperity is only on the surface, becoming darker and darker. Most of the high-level executives are from the Yin country. As long as you give money, you can talk about everything. Even if you kill someone, you can be sure that you are fine. Ma Jingsheng saw that his little brothers came back with injuries one by one, and asked, "What's the matter, have you got the school land?" The red-haired gangster replied, "Boss, I got it soon. It's the kid who won the money last time. We can't beat him. A bunch of trash." Everyone bowed their heads and dared not speak. "Ma, we didn't trouble him, but he troubled us." Ma Jingsheng akimbo, cursing angrily. Ma Jingsheng flashed a gloomy cold in his eyes, and said to the younger brother on the side, "Tonight you bring more people and set the school on fire. I see how they can learn."